Hi, my name's Frostbreak. If you don't know who I am, I'm your resident Sky Baby who grew up on Todd's greatest gift to mankind. But I've also gone out of my way to give the older Elder Scrolls games a shot. Some were made before I was born. Others were made before I could read, but over the past year, I have fully completed Morrowind and Oblivion's main storyline and all accompanying DLC for the very first time. But there's still so much I've never tried before. In this series, I want to pick a guild and play through its entire questline on every single Elder Scrolls game. Today, we're taking a look at the Dark Brotherhood. I have only completed this guild in Skyrim, so the reactions you see today of me trying it on other games are my genuine first impressions.
What?
I'm sorry! At the very end, we'll wrap up the video with a detailed tier list with all my ratings I kept track of in an Excel sheet. Obviously, some pretty serious spoilers are coming up, but I'll have video chapters down below if you want to jump ahead on the timeline. Speaking of, let's talk about which games are on the agenda today. We're going to be attempting this challenge in lore-accurate, chronological order to best observe how the Dark Brotherhood changes and evolves over time. That means we're starting off with the Elder Scrolls Online. Raise your hand if you knew this game had a Dark Brotherhood faction. I didn't. Next up on the timeline is Morrowind. This game has the Dark Brotherhood, but not as a joinable faction. Instead, you can join the Morag Tong, whose story is heavily intertwined with that of the Brotherhood. It's pretty damn close, but we'll talk more about that later. Third up is Oblivion. Full disclosure, I've done half of this questline before, but on the original 2006 version a few months ago. I live streamed it, and for whatever reason, it bugged out halfway, so I just gave up. Let's hope the remaster fixed it. Last, but certainly not least, and the only questline I'm familiar with, Skyrim. I've never been a huge evil RPer, so I must admit I've only done it once or twice and forgot most of it. And before you Daggerfall boomers start foaming at the mouth, no, it's not included for a reason. I'm trying to experience these faction questlines for the first time. Questlines, not random generated bounties, quests with some semblance of a story attached to them, alright? Last thing to note before we begin, if I missed something or there's a cool little Easter egg, please let me know in the comments. This is a lot of content to play through. We're talking like 30 hours of raw footage. I can't catch everything. This is a monumental task. There's no video like it on YouTube due to the sheer amount of time required. If you guys enjoy, please be sure to drop a like or subscribe. It would really, really help me out. With that being said, let's start from the very beginning. And I mean the very beginning. We're starting this challenge in lore-accurate order. That means we're starting with the Elder Scrolls Online. ESO takes place in the year 2E 583, roughly 700 years before the events of Morrowind, which we'll be playing next. This story is set in the Gold Coast, primarily the cities of Anvil and Kvatch. I just beat Oblivion for the very first time a few months ago, and it was really cool to see Kvatch in all its former glory. Anyway, at this point in time, rather than operating solely in the shadows, the Dark Brotherhood seemed to be a much more influential organization. Almost every person you walk by in the street knows what the Dark Brotherhood is or what they're up to in the area. They also have quite a remarkable sanctuary that sprawls beneath the entire countryside. You get the impression right off the bat, they don't really try to hide what they do, and although illegal, no one has the power to stop them. But that's where our story picks up. We start by meeting a lovely lady on the docks who says the Dark Brotherhood is handing out invitations like hotcakes. All you gotta do is kill an innocent civilian. Seems easy enough, but ESO has a bunch of weird interactions with NPCs, and yes, I had this setting correctly set. Honestly, took me like 5 minutes before I could find an NPC I could actually kill, but shortly after I was given my invitation. We meet with the Brotherhood speaker in the lighthouse. I'm not sure if they control the docks in this game, but clearly a murder was committed here and they're just chilling at the scene of the crime. The speaker tells me what the Dark Brotherhood is and what I can do to be of service. He wants me to kill a noble. Why? Well, that's not a question the Dark Brotherhood asks, so I head off on my murder spree. For this initiation mission, I'm also given the Blade of Woe. In ESO, it's less of a physical weapon, more like a silent takedown button from Batman. Just get close enough behind an enemy, stay undetected, and you perform the takedown. Easy enough. And some of the animations were actually pretty cool. Oh, shit. Wait, that's pretty cool. Anyway, We make our way to the noble's estate, find his secret entrance, slaughter the guards, and listen in on their conversation. Essentially, all the powerful people in the Gold Coast agree the Dark Brotherhood has gotten too powerful and needs a reality check. On my way to the next eavesdropping point, I get caught, but I don't think there's any repercussions at all. I get a few hundred gold added to my bounty, sure, but none of the nearby guards are alerted, despite her ringing a goddamn cowbell. It's an MMO, so I get the stealth mechanics aren't going to be on par with the single-player games, but I've played ESO before. I know for a fact you can fail missions and face the consequences. I'm just surprised this wasn't implemented here. Regardless, we track down our target. I could just kill him with spells, but you get better items for killing them with the Blade of Woe, so it's actually a decent incentive to at least try to get the kill properly. I sneak up behind him, stab him, and pass my initiation into the Dark Brotherhood. I'm informed by the speaker that the lighthouse is just a staging area, and I'm to find the black door in the countryside. After finding my way inside, I'm greeted by the matron, who informs me my brothers have been dropping like flies to a mysterious assassin. The hunters have become the hunted. We'll put a pin in that for now because it's time for the classic Dark Brotherhood chat with all my new family members. After making everyone's acquaintance, I'm given another contract. This time, we have to travel to Kvatch and kill a random dude just fishing. I'm not even exaggerating, that's literally all you have to do. When I return to the sanctuary, I'm thankfully given a much more interesting mission by the matron. I'm to kill a priest in Kvatch who's tarnishing the Brotherhood's name, specifically the Grand Sermonizer. These priests are called the Order of the Hour, one of the oldest orders of the Empire serving as the army of Akatosh. There are references to this order in Skyrim, but there's a whole side quest about it in Oblivion. They're pretty cool. I mean, as the Dark Brotherhood, we hate them. So, we kill a bunch of the preachers and eventually find our way to the Order of the Hour's manor. In the basement, we see a warrior named the Black Dragon, who's working with the Grand Sermonizer to capture and torture Brotherhood assassins to try and find our secret base. We chase down the Grand Sermonizer and dispatch her with ease, but the Black Dragon is still out there. The next mission I receive is peculiar. The client wants me to carry out an assassination, but meet with her first. Weirdly, it's the governor of Anvil, Apdugal, who we heard conspiring against us at the start. You meet with her, and she wants you to kill a guy and show proof of the kill to his boss as a threat. You do, but upon getting to the boss, you see him performing the Black Sacrament, which is how people can contact the Night Mother for an assassination. He tells you he knows who the Black Dragon is, and he'll pay you with that information if you kill Dugal, who you were just working for. If it sounds a little confusing, it's not just you. Luckily, the speaker shows up and clarifies to you that you did legally fulfill Dugal's contract, so now you can take on another, even if it's killing her. So, you sneak into her castle, assassinate some guards, and poison her wine. Since she still thinks you're friendly at the moment, you tell her you completed the contract and she offers to celebrate.
Fetch my wine, girl. You know the one. And bring something...
Who the fuck is she talking to? There's nobody in here.
This servant girl turns out to be Mirabelle, who we met briefly earlier and I recognized as another Dark Brotherhood assassin. We watch as our plan unfolds. Honestly, it's not that far of a fall. I did it myself and survived. I think she might be faking it. Next thing we do is try to track down the Black Dragon. The Count guy comes in clutch with the information he promised, and we head to her stronghold. Mirabelle shows up outside and wants to join us. I wonder if this character is going to die momentarily. Upon sneaking our way inside, I find the Black Dragon's journals and a mysterious lady outside her room.
How much you want to bet this person's the Black Dragon?
Yeah, so I basically went 2 for 2 on this mission. This lady is the Black Dragon, and Mirabelle gets fucking shanked.
Oh shit.
We were still able to recover the journals of the Black Dragon and hand them off to an Argonian Gigachad who used to know this Black Dragon, or at least her real name, Lyra. Once he's analyzed the books, he takes you back to his home of Blackmarsh, or our home, I should say. This was one of the coolest parts of the campaign for me, but obviously, I'm a little biased for the lizards. Green Venom Tongue has some hist resin that allows us to see visions of the past, and we go around watching Lyra assassinate all of her friends in the sanctuary. Apparently, this is something called purification, which happens when a Brotherhood sanctuary gets too corrupt. So, it's legal per se. You even see her speak with Sithis and her speaker when it's over. She was asked to do this by her superiors. Where her path changes is when she's assigned to kill the Primate of Akatosh in Kvatch. She's pretty unstable as she just slaughtered her entire family, and he's able to take advantage of that and convert her to the holy cause of Akatosh, which would be good in most instances, but not for the Brotherhood. She's been his personal assassin and torturer, imbued with the power of Akatosh to become the Black Dragon. I'm sure you can guess what the next quest is: kill the Black Dragon. We team up with our Argonian friend to infiltrate her secret base, solve some puzzles, get confronted by some shadows, and watch Venom scale the wall like a gecko. Even though I'm also an Argonian, I can't do that for some reason and have to go the long way around. As soon as I turn the corner, Venom's fucking dead. Now, this is personal. I head for the final chamber. All the while, she's telling me how the Dark Brotherhood abandoned her to clean up their mess, leaving her with so much guilt and shame it drove her insane. Honestly, it's a valid crash out. I'd be pissed too if my god told me to murder my entire family and toss me to the side like garbage. But I have a contract to fulfill and finally find my way to her chamber.
That is really cool.
She's super easy to kill, but upon her death, a shade of Sithis comes to claim her soul for the betrayal she's enacted against the Brotherhood. Not the slaughter of her sanctuary, mind you, that was completely kosher, but the fact that as the Black Dragon, she went out of her way to kill more Brotherhood members. The last thing we have to do is put an end to the primate of Akatosh who originally corrupted Lyra. Again, corrupt isn't the greatest word because we're definitely the bad guys here, but you know what I mean. This mission requires zero stealth. You just storm the catacombs, kill some giant lizards, and make it to the Chapel of Akatosh, which was really cool to see in ESO compared to Oblivion. This boss fight is one of the better ones I've done in this game, to be honest. The primate can invoke the will of Akatosh and freeze time and shit. It's actually somewhat mechanically heavy, but I've killed Molag Bal, so there's not much hope for this old man. After killing him with an awesome animation,
Oh, that's a pretty cool animation.
I'm rewarded with a final ceremony in the sanctuary and granted the rank of Silencer. This conclusion is a little flat in my opinion, but we'll talk more about my rating in the tier list portion of the video. Let's move on to the next chronological title, Morrowind. Now, Morrowind's a unique case. I only played this game for the first time a few months ago, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. The Dark Brotherhood exists in this game, but they're not a joinable faction. In the province of Morrowind specifically, the Brotherhood is seen as a dishonorable and less desirable version of the Morag Tong. The Morag Tong, as I understand, are a completely legal assassination group that operate in the province. If they have a contract for your assassination, they don't need stealth. They can just kill you in the street and it's completely legal. Both of these guilds worship Mephala, to a degree. The Morag Tong worship the Daedric Prince directly, whereas the Dark Brotherhood worships the Night Mother, which is probably Mephala, or at the very least an aspect of her. Anyway, these two guilds are remarkably similar and intertwined in the lore. Since you can't play as the Dark Brotherhood in Morrowind, this is the next best option. The first thing you have to do is locate the Morag Tong headquarters, which can be found by talking to people for rumors. You learn of the secret location in the rat-infested basement of the Arena Canton. And be sure to set a mark point here because it's a pain coming back. The first thing you have to do is speak with the Grand Master, who assigns you with an initiation writ. Kill a guy in a nearby corner club. Pretty simple. From there, you'll need to do more writs. A lot more writs. You need to do all 12 writs to be at a high enough reputation to complete the Morag Tong questline. Like Anakin, I was in the guild, but not granted the rank of master.
What?
So, time to grind. These dozen or so assassinations are not particularly interesting at all. Literally, find the person in the marked location, kill them, report back, repeat. I'm showing you a few now in the background, but we're not coming back to this because it's just something you have to do. So let's pretend you can skip through time and you've done all the writs possible and are now a master of the Morag Tong. The questline begins with the Grand Master who asks you to contact the Dark Brotherhood. He explains the Brotherhood used to be part of the Morag Tong, but rebelled many years ago. He wants you to squeeze some information out of an Argonian shopkeeper who knows the name of one of their members. The Argonian reports someone is causing a ruckus outside of his shop and scaring away his customers. You deal with the problem, and he's happy to give you the name of the Brotherhood member. The Grand Master sends agents to question this person, but in the meantime tells you about the threads of the web spinner. This is a pretty interesting piece of lore. Mephala made a deal with Sanguine for 27 sashes she could give to her most devoted followers. The Dark Brotherhood stole all of them, somehow. but Mephala has tricked the wearers of these belts to make their way back to Vardenfell. Your next couple missions are to recover a few of these pieces. From what I understand, this is an extra collectible quest not required to complete the guild. There are indeed 27 of these items scattered across Morrowind. I think you probably collect around 10 of them automatically through this questline, but the Grandmaster only directly asks you for 2 or 3. Anyway, yeah, you kill a guy or 2 and take their belts. The next main mission is to persuade a Dark Brotherhood member to join the Morag Tong. Very, very rarely a Dark Brotherhood member is deemed honorable enough to be invited back into the Morag Tong. This is one such dude. After speaking with him a bit, he decided to get in touch with the Grandmaster and join. Next mission is pretty standard, but it does introduce you to the interesting layer of Mehrunes Dagon's involvement with the Dark Brotherhood. For whatever reason, Dagon cultists have allied themselves with the Dark Brotherhood and are sheltering their agents in various Daedric ruins. The Grandmaster wants you to tell the leader of the Dagon cult to stop protecting the Brotherhood, or the Morag Tong will declare war on the Dagon worshippers. Of course, this goes as well as you'd expect.
You offer me an ultimatum? No servant of Mephala can command me. Is this guy gonna fight me now?
He has another one of these sanguine artifacts too, but that's not what we came here for. We report back to the Grandmaster, who wants to go full scorched earth on all Mehrunes Dagon cultists. He sends you to another ruin of Dagon to kill another guy and take another sanguine artifact. Pretty straightforward. Now, this is where we hit a little speed bump. The next 2 main story quests, as you can probably assume, require more assassinations. The first one is to kill a Dark Brotherhood assassin in St. Olm's Underworks, in a shrine devoted to Mehrunes Dagon. This Daedric shrine is right beside a main quest NPC you investigate for Caius, which I did way back in my first video. I actually remember clearing out this room. I remember killing the NPCs, but I did it again on another character just for you guys so you'd have some footage. Funny enough, what I did have footage for was the next mission where you execute the Night Mother. This ruin is right beside the Mudcrab Merchant, so I just cleared it out accidentally a few months ago. I think that's kind of funny. According to the wiki, she doesn't have any dialogue or anything, so nothing was missed content-wise. The Grandmaster's reactions are pretty funny too. He's like, "What? How did you do that already? Okay, I guess you're the Grandmaster now." I like that the devs thought of that. It adds some real charm to this quest, which I otherwise thought was pretty dull. There's gotta be loads of players like me who just love doing every dungeon they come across, so I'm glad there was a unique reaction for it. Anyway, that's it. I've been granted the rank of Grandmaster and can either kill the previous guy or let him retire in peace. I let him retire and he gives me a cool dagger, and that's that. The end of the Morag Tong questline, and by my hands, the end of the Dark Brotherhood in Vardenfell. On to Oblivion. I have done exactly half of Oblivion's Dark Brotherhood questline on the OG 2006 version. I thought I beat it all, but some people in my Discord were talking to me about it, and we figured out it bugged right before the big twist, which luckily no one spoiled for me. No matter. Fresh new character, fresh new remaster. Hopefully I don't run into that issue again. To start the Dark Brotherhood questline in Oblivion, you need to kill an innocent person and go to sleep. Lucian, the speaker for the Cyrodiil Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary, invites you to perform an initiation task before inviting you into the guild. You kill a sleeping old dude and are invited into the Dark Brotherhood with open arms. Unfortunately, the gods aren't too happy with my work. If you've seen my last video, you know I played through the DLC with this character. Who knew being evil would have consequences? Luckily, as soon as I get to the Sanctuary, I'm handed a nice new set of armor with some pretty awesome stat bonuses. I'm then greeted by this dude.
He's bald in this one.
This is definitely a bug. He has hair sometimes, but I think he kind of rocks that bald look. He looks actually better without the hair. Anyway, this guy is the contact giver for new members of the family. The first one offered to me is to kill a pirate captain in the Imperial Dockyards. Like most of these missions in Oblivion, there's several ways to do them, a gameplay feature missing from both the previous titles we touched on. Anyway, as I mentioned at the start of this video, I've done most of these starter quests in the 2006 version before the questline broke for me. So this time around, I wanted to make sure I got the bonus each time and to do it in a different way if possible. For the pirate, I snuck onto his back porch and killed him. Got a cool little alternate ending here with this crew that I'd never seen before.
Captain Tussaud, are you alright, sir?
Drop a mounted head on a wood elf. My favorite mission, kill the racist Dunmer at the start of the game. fake the death of a guy who owes money to another organization. Don't worry, I actually listened to the conversation this time. Last time I just kind of stabbed him and ran away. And we also kill a high elf hopped up on skooma. The next mission requires you to sneak into a dude's castle and swap out his medicine for poison. When talking to my brothers for clues, a fellow Argonian offered me a quest. I don't know if this is new, but this was kind of cool. He recognized me as an Argonian, which is always nice, and spoke to me about being a shadow scale. However, one of the people he was raised with went against the Dark Brotherhood and he asks me to kill him. I do, and then he tells me the information about a secret entrance to the castle. So, with this new information, I swap out the medicine without being spotted. The next mission is called Whodunit, probably one of the best in the entire questline. There's a fake game show going on where 6 people, including you, are locked in a house until they find the gold. You create your own little murder mystery with you being the murderer. Pretty cool to see all the reactions as they're picked off one by one.
He just took a chug of beer and he's not holding... Look.
The final quest for Ochiva is to kill an Imperial officer who just retired. I'm given a special arrow that will instantly kill him, but he has to have his armor off. My Argonian friend I helped earlier tells me he would probably take it off to go swimming, and that's exactly where he is. I get a beautiful snipe on him, and his guard just dips.
His floating dead body in the pond, and his guard's like, not my problem. I'm gonna leave.
Of course, I did the bonus and put his sawed-off finger into his successor's desk too. Now, this is unfamiliar territory for me. After handing in this quest, you get a letter. I never got it in the original 2006 version.
This is where it bugged for me last time. I never got this quest thingy, I think.
When Ochiva told me to go get some rest, she never had a new quest. I just thought I was done. Luckily, they fixed that bug in this game, and she gives you the letter right away. The letter is from Lucian, the speaker for the Sanctuary. He wants you to meet him in his secret lair to discuss something so important, I'm not allowed to talk about it to anyone else. I say goodbye to my friends, assuming I'm going to a new location in Questline, but oh boy, was I mistaken. Lucian asks me to do the unthinkable, perform the purification ritual on my own sanctuary. When he first told me, it hit even harder after playing ESO first because I knew exactly what I had to do and how horrible a thing it was. I know as a faction the Dark Brotherhood is evil, but I'd grown to like these people as time went on.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Not this fucking cat though, fuck that guy. I was very happy to turn him into a fur coat. Now I felt exactly like Lyra did, unsure if the Dark Brotherhood is indeed a brotherhood rather than tools for the higher-ups. But unlike her, I decided to keep working with the Black Hand because I have to for this video. And my reward for slaughtering my friends? A horse that never spawns. It never shows up for the entirety of this video. I looked for it, couldn't find it, so that was great. The next few quests we're doing are dead drops. These aren't particularly exciting, I must admit. They're much more akin to the quests the Morag Tong had for us in Morrowind, except there's almost zero NPC interaction. Go find a note, kill person on the note, go find next note, kill person on that note, etc., etc. A stark contrast to the creative problem solving offered at the start of this questline. There are 7 of these dead drops. Kill a necromancer, slaughter an entire family, kill a boxer, an Argonian, a Dunmer, a Nord, and finally a Bosmer. Upon killing the Bosmer, Lucian jumps out of the shadows in a fury. He calls me a traitor and says I've forsaken the Dark Brotherhood.
What the fuck is he talking about? I haven't done anything wrong.
Quickly though, he realizes I have no idea what he's talking about. Turns out, 2 out of 7 of those dead drops were legit. The first 2. Everything after that was a setup by an unknown entity, and what's even worse, they were all members of the Brotherhood. For whatever reason, Lucian believes he's being framed and sends me to investigate the next dead drop. I'm to sit beside a bucket and try and catch the person responsible. Turns out it's just a little Bosmer guy. Says he was paid by a man in black robes and a shrouded face to put the letters there. Says he gets his orders from a creepy man in a lighthouse, so that's where we head next. I intimidate the lighthouse keeper for the key to the basement and discover an absolutely foul scene.
And a dead woman? What the fuck is going on down here? There's clearly an altar back here. Mother's head. Like as in the Night Mother's head, or just like this guy's mother's head? Oh, I don't want to take that.
To summarize this entire book, this guy has severe mommy issues.
Mommy, I'm so afraid. I miss you, Mommy. I just want you to kiss me again.
As a boy, he witnessed Lucian decapitate his mother, which sent him into some sort of meltdown, solely focused on revenge. He joined the Dark Brotherhood at a young age and quickly climbed the ranks, advancing quite high up into the guild. From there, he was able to wield his influence to frame Lucian and get me to kill other high-ranking Brotherhood members. We rushed back to Lucian to report my findings. Unfortunately, we're too late. They fucking flayed this dude alive. Lucian Lachance has been murdered, stripped, and mutilated by the Black Hand. Oh my god. The other speakers of the Brotherhood have flayed Lucian alive. It's pretty fucked up. For some reason, I can't tell these guys what I just found. There's no option for that. Regardless, they want to promote me to Lucian's position and pay a visit to the Night Mother herself. We go under the cover of darkness, and somehow no one in this entire city notices this weird-ass ritual going on in the middle of the town square. The statue comes alive and opens the way to the chamber of the Night Mother. I was expecting to see the Skyrim cadaver thing, but she's just walking around in spectral form, which is kind of cool to be honest. Anyway, the Black Hand, which I guess is the 5 speakers, including myself, are here to seek her guidance to uncover the traitor. Thank fucking God, she knows what's going on and tells them what I've been trying to say this whole time. Lucian was innocent. Well, as innocent as a Dark Brotherhood member can be, and the traitor is still at large. After hearing this, we get a I am the Senate moment. The traitor is a speaker and kills 2 guys instantly without them even trying to fight back. Honestly, this whole sequence is so fucking funny. I'm just stuck in place listening to this lady telling me to protect the Night Mother while he's just stabbing her with clearly zero effect. After dealing with the traitor Matthew, the Night Mother wishes to speak with me. She tells me she knew who the traitor was all along and let the events play out because she was mad at the speaker's incompetence. Regardless, she's impressed I unknowingly killed half of her top devotees with little to no issue and carried out the purification of my own sanctuary. She appoints me the new listener of the Brotherhood and wants me to run the Cheydinal sanctuary. I take one last look around. Oh, what the fuck? Why is there babies dead? Decapitated babies. Okay, well, if you ever needed reassurance that the Dark Brotherhood is kind of evil, this would be it, I would say. I'm informed by Arquin that once a week I can visit the statue of the Night Mother and inform her about a name so she can visit them. I tried it out. It's not a mission or anything, it's just a bit of lore, which is cool, but it just rewards me with some cash, not an actual assassination mission. So with that, I am now the listener of the Dark Brotherhood and tasked with rebuilding our organization to its former glory once again. Let's jump forward 200 years to see how this story carries out in the home of the Nords. Okay, quick disclaimer, I did not have a pre-made character at all for this quest. I mean, I do, I have loads, but they've all either started the Dark Brotherhood questline or the opposite build of what I wanted. So, I'm using my sister's character. A couple months ago, I got my sister to try Skyrim for the first time. I'll throw a link to that down below. It was an interesting experience, but I'm stealing her cat, Das Poopenschart. Dear God. Das Poopenschart is a light armor, one-hand Khajiit, so kinda perfect for this run. I made her do the Mace of Moloch Ball quest because I'm an evil brother.
Beat Lorgoth into submission?
Kill him now.
What is going on?
Again, if you want to see any of that, the link is down below, but she did not like that quest at all. I don't think she would appreciate me doing the Dark Brotherhood on her character, but I won't tell if you don't. Apparently, you can start this questline off by helping Cicero repair his broken down wagon. Again, I've only completed the Dark Brotherhood questline in Skyrim 2 or 3 times maximum. I've started it a bunch of times, but I usually stop once I get the armor and make some money. And when I want to start this questline, I just start at the orphanage. I didn't know this was here, so that's kind of cool. Anyway, this funky dude's cart broke down and he needs help with repairs. He says he's transporting his dead mother, but you can kind of infer it's the Night Mother herself, which again, is kind of cool. I tried to phase in and see if I could see her corpse, but no luck. Anyway, after I help Cicero, he cheerily thanks me and is on his merry way. Next stop is the orphanage, a place I'm very familiar with. Not because I'm an orphan, but because this is how I usually start the quest. Anyway, some kids are being abused by the mean old lady. One kid escaped, who you track down, to discover he's performing the Black Sacrament, pleading for the Dark Brotherhood to kill the mean old caretaker. Luckily, Das Poopenschart is on the case to deal with the old bag. After some Skyrim jank... What the fuck? That guy just disappeared. We go to sleep and are kidnapped by a woman named Astrid. I think Astrid is a speaker, but I'm not super sure. We'll get into this a little more later, but Skyrim's Dark Brotherhood progression and chain of command is all over the place, something I would never have noticed if I didn't play the other games first. Anyway, Astrid tries to recruit me by telling me to take the life of one of the people in front of me. I do, and am given the password to the Dark Brotherhood's Black Door. After finding and entering the sanctuary, I'm invited into the guild as a full member and am given a very nice set of shrouded armor. This is normally where I say thank you and walk out the door. From this point forward, my memory is a little foggy. I haven't done this questline in like 5 years, so don't make fun of me. Our first task, or tasks I should say, are just basic assassination missions. They're pretty boring, similar to Oblivion's Dead Drop quest, but thankfully there's a lot less of them. After doing 2 or 3, you're given your first real contract. A woman in Markarth wants you to kill her ex-lover along with his new girlfriend, I think. No matter, this is light work for Das Puppenschart, and we collect our payday. Upon returning to the sanctuary, Astrid is quite distraught. She's eavesdropped on Cicero talking to someone in his room. The things she overheard has troubled her, and she wants me to investigate. The only way to do that is to hide. And the only place to hide is getting nice and cozy with the Night Mother. We hear Cicero launch into an insane monologue, but in the middle of it, the Night Mother speaks to me. She names me her listener, as well as provides me with a new contract to establish. Upon doing so, the casket opens, and Cicero gazes upon me getting a little too freaky with his mother. Before he kills me, I tell him the code word the Night Mother told me, and he accepts me as the new listener. Astrid barges in and is taken aback by the news, not willing at all to recognize my authority, even though it's basically irrefutable. I was given a contract by the Night Mother from someone who committed the Black Sacrament. There's no other way I would have known that. I can understand her hesitation, but in the other games, the listener basically gets their feet kissed by the speakers. But in fairness, she also doesn't respect Cicero, who's a keeper, also above her rank. It is a weird approach to be given the highest rank possible within the first hour of the questline, and that's 100% something I would have never noticed before having only played Skyrim. I also made note of that during my first contract. What is my rank in the Dark Brotherhood? Because usually this would be a job for the speaker. The speaker is the person who negotiates the contract, and then it's just handed to somebody who's lower down the ranks. But it seems like in Skyrim, they're a lot more laissez-faire with the hierarchy and chain of command. Maybe there's a lore reason you guys can let me know on why they're so disorganized in Skyrim. It's almost like they're a fringe group rather than a respected and feared institution, but perhaps that's what this next quest was meant to fix. We follow the Night Mother's directions to meet with Amand, a wealthy Breton who wishes for us to assassinate the Emperor. The Dark Brotherhood hasn't taken on a contract of this magnitude since they killed Pelagius 600 or so years ago. We get a cool little Oblivion reference. Holy shit, Oblivion reference! Oh my god! But Astrid agrees to the contract, hoping it'll restore the name the Dark Brotherhood used to have. There are several events that need to be put in motion to draw the Emperor out. First on the docket is to kill his cousin, who's getting married in solitude. You get a bonus if you kill her during a speech, so I did exactly that. Not sure if this was the bonus or not, but I get access to a familiar friend.
Dank and dimly lit.
Is that Lucian like mumbling in the background there?
Planting
He is a bit of a yapper though.
Destroying.
Next on the kill list is the son of a high-ranking Imperial Guard. On the way there, I encountered a dragon, and Lucian was about as useful as he was in Oblivion.
And where the fuck is Lucian? You can see him running around over there. This fucking useless guy. What's the point? When we finally reached the town, I still had a big-ass bounty from the wedding, so getting close to the sun was a bit of an issue. Didn't exactly do this one with stealth, per se, but it worked out in the end. When we returned back, Cicero has sliced up the only Argonian in the guild. Typical dry-skin behavior. After reading his private journal, he mentions another sanctuary just outside of Dawnstar. This quest really reminded me of Arkham Asylum, where the Joker's yapping on the intercom as you navigate his traps. Anyway, just like Batman, I'm rich, handsome, and super smart, and navigate all of Cicero's little obstacles. I actually decide to spare him. As I've mentioned, I've only completed this questline 2 or 3 times. I don't think I've ever let him live. I wanted to see what would happen, so I leave him be, loot the room, almost curse my sister's character, and return back to the sanctuary. Before I'm given my next mission, I get access to Shadowmere. At least he actually shows up in Skyrim. Our next assassination is to kill the Gourmet, a chef on retainer for the Emperor so we can pose as them and poison the food.
We're given a copy of the cookbook, of which I was excited to compare to the real-life version I used for my previous Skyrim challenge. Okay, let's take a look at this cookbook. I wonder how many recipes are in here. For those of you that don't know, I beat Skyrim with the official cookbook. Every time I spoke to a different NPC throughout the main story, I had to cook something from their race, and I used the Skyrim cookbook for that. But it looks like there's only 2 recipes in this whole book. Sunlight Soufflé and Potage le Magnifique. That's it. Not much of a cookbook. This is like a brochure. Nevertheless, we find the cook, shank him, chuck him in a barrel, and impersonate our way into the royal kitchen. Was a little surprised by the way this guard says Azura.
By Azura.
Azura? Did you hear how he said Azura? What the fuck? But we move on. After directing the cook on how to prepare my famous meal, we add a little dash of poison and serve it to the Emperor. As we make our great escape, we're stopped by that high-ranking Imperial whose son we killed not too long ago. Turns out the Emperor was a decoy. Someone in our Brotherhood betrayed us and told the Imperials about everything. As his guards are tasked with killing me, he has a legion of troops at our sanctuary slaughtering everyone I know. With a little feline prowess, we scamper away unharmed. We run back to our friends and Shadowmere beats the shit out of some guards.
Get him, Shadowmere. Beat his ass. Nice work, buddy. We got him, I think.
We rush inside to find any survivors and just locate Nazir. Everything is up in flames and the sanctuary is collapsing. Mommy calls me into her coffin to save myself and tells me to go to sleep. Somehow Nazir survived. I don't know how. We were in the same room together, but he and Babette fished me out of the pool. Before I'm let out, the Night Mother tells me to speak with Astrid, who also somehow survived. Although survived might be a bit of a liberal way to describe her situation. Astrid admits she was the traitor and told the Imperials to try and save her family. She offers herself up as a black sacrament and prays for me to lead her family back to its former glory.
Oh my god, her face is so fucked up.
Thank you.
The Night Mother once again sends me to speak with Amand, who knows the real location of the Emperor. He tells us the Emperor is on a boat, but we need to hurry because it's leaving soon. We break onto the ship, try to sneak but have to resort to violence, and make our way to the Emperor's chamber. Somehow, he's been expecting us. Very much like Tiber Septim, he knows his time has come and death is just around the corner. He asks a final kindness of us, to kill the man who engineered his death, which I grapple with a little.
Well, in the Elder Scrolls Online, we were legally allowed to kill the person who assigned us the contract once the contract was fulfilled. So, lore-wise, I think it is legal for me to accept his request to kill the guy who set the contract to kill him.
I agree and strike down the old man. I vaguely remembered there's a pretty good sword around here, so before I left, I cleaned up the rest of the guards and grabbed it. Time to collect my payment. Amand reveals the location of the money, and honoring the Emperor's wishes, I bonk him across the head. He was carrying some pretty expensive stuff. On top of the 20,000 gold as payment, I was sitting pretty. When returning to the sanctuary, the Night Mother congratulates me on my fulfillment of the contract. After leaving the sanctuary to go buy some upgrades, Cicero catches me outside and offers me his services. I totally forgot about this guy, but I've never used him as a follower before, so we'll see if he's any good. Now we're going to get into my review and ratings on which games I think go where on the tier list. Throughout my adventures, I've been keeping track of basic information on an Excel sheet on how I'd evaluate each of these quest lines. There are 4 major categories I use to evaluate my experiences, of which I'll also have in the description if I'm going through them too fast. Number 1, hours to complete. This affected the score at a much smaller magnitude, but on the extremes of it being too long or too short, it did influence my rating a little. 2, quest quality. In a vacuum, how good were the individual quests? Forget the lore, overall story, rewards, etc. How was the actual quality of content? Number 3, personal enjoyment. As you can probably assume, this is my personal rating of how much I enjoyed each questline. The enjoyment factor of the game also plays a part. For example, I enjoy Morrowind on a game level more than Oblivion, but that's only a small part of the score. It's primarily about the actual questline. Finally, the story strength. How strong was the overarching story when you look at its lore implications, writing, and design? Was it fulfilling to complete? Was it fun to learn about? How impactful was the overall narrative? We're going to be rating these games from worst to best. Before we get started, I try to be as objective as possible with my analysis, but obviously, personal enjoyment is a personal score. You are 100% allowed to disagree with me in the comments. This is just one man's opinion. One man who's barely played any of these games before. My opinions might be a little less biased and rose-tinted than yours, but that doesn't mean they're 100% right. Let's get into it. Coming in at last place on the tier list is Morrowind. But let's start off with some of its strengths. The Morag Tong is a fantastic substitute for the Dark Brotherhood. It makes complete sense lore-wise and is totally believable. This guild has super strong ties to the Dark Brotherhood, but is a more civilized and efficient organization. Really cool to learn about. I'm very happy I did this. I love Morrowind 2 and my enjoyment score was 7, but that's about the end of what makes this questline good. The quest quality for the Morag Tong is pretty abysmal. They're fetch quests to the letter. Literally. Go here, kill guy, come back. You're never going to get in trouble. There's no reason to be creative with your approach. It is literally stab an NPC to death and come back so you can do it again. There are 12 assassination writs, not counting the extra 6 you have to do for the main story. I gave the quest quality a 2. There's one quest where you convert a Dark Brotherhood member. That was kind of interesting. You also get to kill the Night Mother, but she's just a regular NPC with a special name slapped on. But at least it had me thinking a bit. Is this the Night Mother? Did my Morrowind guy kill the corpse we see in both Oblivion and Skyrim? I don't know. It's an interesting question, but the game doesn't really answer it. Another thing that didn't help the score of Morrowind is the time to complete, coming in at by far the longest 7.8 hours. Let's just say it how it is. This is because of the lack of fast travel. If you do the Morag Tong questline, you're going to spend 60 to 70% of your time just getting from A to B. Mark and Recall are lifesavers, but it only goes so far. Finally, I gave its story strength a 4. There is a story, it's fairly basic, but it's there. You learn about the Dark Brotherhood, you learn about Mafala, you learn about Sanguine, and you learn about the Night Mother. It's a good primer if you've never done a Dark Brotherhood questline before, but if you have, this would probably leave you disappointed in comparison. Overall, Morrowind's Morag Tong gets a 4 out of 10 from me, slotting comfortably in C tier. Average to just below average. Not something I would ever see myself doing again, but I'm glad I tried it once. Next up is the Elder Scrolls Online. Now, this game was already punching against its weight class for a Dark Brotherhood storyline due to the fact that it's an MMO. This stealth, assassination, infiltrating playstyle does not pair well with a massively multiplayer experience, but credit where credit is due, I think ESO did the best they could. I gave ESO's story strength a 7, a really solid score. I think the writing and world building this questline offers is pretty cool, more specifically in the area of Anvil and Kvatch, but outside of that, this questline explores some pretty cool areas. There's an entire sequence in the northeastern forests of Cyrodiil. There's a fantastic segment in the Black Marsh where we get to learn more about the Shadow Scales and how Sithis plays an important role in Argonian culture. The Order of the Hour are a really cool sect of knights. There's just a lot of lore development in this story, which I personally find quite fascinating. Now again, the story is a little weaker because it's an MMO. Unlike the other games, your final rank is Silencer. It's a decent rank, but it left the conclusion overall feeling flat, although I can understand why. You can't have a million speakers, keepers, and listeners running around. Lore-wise, Silencer would be the highest they could assign. Still, this is the only game on the list where you don't get to interact with the Night Mother at all, which is a pretty important part of the guild. I also thought the quest quality was solid. I also gave it a 7, above average. Say what you will about this questline, there's never one mission where you just go out on your own, kill a dude, and return. I mean, there's that one quest with the fisherman, but that's just a small part of a larger quest. There are always extra elements in every single quest. It's like the only game on this list that consistently does that. It's also the only game that interweaves your fellow Brotherhood stories into yours, really fleshing out the characters to be memorable by giving them a spotlight during your quests. The only other game that has anything remotely close to this is the Renegade Shadowscale side quest in Oblivion, but that's the only one I think it has. In each quest in ESO, you learn something new about a family member, and I think it's the best interpretation of Brotherhood I've seen in any of these quest lines. That being said, the biggest thing that holds ESO back was my enjoyment. I understand it's an MMO, but it's so fucking immersion breaking, it's unreal. Trying to infiltrate a secret hideout? There's 10 other people doing it with you. Just assassinated your target? They respawn in 10 seconds so another player can kill it too. Got caught sneaking? Don't worry, there's zero risk of failure, you just get another 100 gold or so added to your bounty. You'll see players running through these instances, dragging enemies too close to you so that you're discovered. It's a thematic disaster. The two aspects of massively multiplayer and stealth infiltration don't mix. It felt really bad to play. They could have solved a lot of this by instancing these encounters. Just make it so I'm the only one in there. That'd fix 90% of the immersion issues. They instance boss battles, so why can't they instance the assassinations so players with a zillion doodads and pets don't totally ruin the moment? Final little complaint, this DLC costs money. It isn't free. It's the second shortest questline, coming in at 5.2 hours. For like $20, this is a little too short in my opinion. I've played other standalone DLCs in ESO before, like Orsinium and Murkmire. Those are simply longer and better main questlines. Overall, I'm giving ESO a 6 out of 10. Above average, B tier. The crux of the issues for this Dark Brotherhood questline is the fact that it's an MMO. If you somehow magically extracted this and shoved it in a single-player engine, it would be one of the best representations of this guild without question. The overall story is strong, and each quest on its own is elaborate with multiple stages. The writing is solid, but the mechanical execution isn't my favorite. The next strongest Dark Brotherhood questline, in my opinion, is Skyrim. I used to think this questline was better than it was, but after playing all the previous versions for the first time, my opinions changed. Not saying it's bad at all, it's obviously my second favorite, but I've definitely calibrated. Let's start with the weaknesses for this one, and there's really only one clear outstanding issue: its length. Skyrim's Dark Brotherhood questline takes 3.6 hours to complete, not even 4 hours. I'm willing to concede that I'm somewhat familiar with this content, so I move through it a bit faster than other games, but even accounting for that, it's pretty fucking short. Oblivion has double the amount of content. Double. I gave the individual quest quality in Skyrim a 7. Of the single-player titles, I like the fact that it had the least amount of mundane fetch quests, so just looking at it mathematically, its percentage of quality questing is much higher. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, there's not a lot of it. It's quite short. I also gave the overall story a 7. In the past, I would have absolutely ranked this higher, but playing the other games first really showed me how differently they approach this storyline. The overall story is great. Killing the Emperor, finding the traitor, hunting down Cicero, it's short but sweet. The only points I'm docking here are stuff to do with the previously established lore. I'm left with more questions than answers. Both ESO and Oblivion establish that the speakers are the ones to negotiate contracts. Why am I doing that as a recruit? I'm then given the rank of listener, the highest rank a person can have, extremely quickly, and no one fucking cares. I'm still tasked with performing the duties of like an assassin or executioner. I get Astrid is a little jealous or suspicious, which I totally understand, but everyone else speaks to me as an underling too. This doesn't make the story bad by any means, but it did make me constantly question every quest I had. Other than that, my personal enjoyment of this questline was a 9. I had so much fun coming back to Skyrim. I forgot a good chunk of the story, and playing it again with a fresh perspective from the older games was like playing it for the first time all over again. I love Skyrim. I grew up with this game, and I can admit I have a little bias for the gameplay. Overall, I think Skyrim deserves a solid 7.5 out of 10, placing very comfortably into A tier. Biggest shortcoming is the amount of content, but it has solid individual quests, a solid overall story, and is super fun to play. Finally, the moment you've all been waiting for. The best Dark Brotherhood quest I've ever played goes to the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. I decided to play it in the remaster because, I'll be honest, I don't really like the 2006 version. Of the 3 modern Elder Scrolls, the original Oblivion is by far and away my least favorite by a significant margin. The remaster closes that gap a lot, but it's still my least favorite. I gave this questline an 8 for personal enjoyment. I had a fantastic time. Thank God I experienced very few game-breaking bugs, but for the entire 6.8 hours I was playing, I was having a blast. The only area that got a little tedious were the dead drop quests. That affected both my personal enjoyment and the overall quest quality, which I also gave an 8. Roughly 36% of the quests are dead drops. That's a pretty substantial chunk. I didn't like those that much. I thought they were boring fetch quests, but the rest of the missions for this guild are fucking bangers. There were funny quests, there were interesting quests, and there was an insane twist in the story with the purification. I will say I got exponentially more value of this quest after playing ESO first because I got to see what that process does to a person and how serious it is. The finale with the Night Mother and the traitor, it's so cool. And that leads me to the overall story strength, which I gave the first 10 out of 10 to. I was genuinely surprised multiple times during this story. I remember being kinda surprised about Astra's betrayal in Skyrim 10 years ago, but not like this. The purification was fucking insane. I didn't want to do it, which I think is a huge win for the writing team to make the player feel like that. Uncovering Matthew's headless mother and shit was also wild too. This isn't a questline I will easily forget. For that reason, I'm giving Oblivion a 9 out of 10 and throwing it in S tier. I don't know if I'll ever play a questline in this series that does this well on my list, but I understand it now. I understand why people wanted me to play through this entire thing so badly. This was well worth the 7 or so hours it took me to play through. Jesus, my script says I've written over 10,000 words at this point. I think this is going to be the longest video I've ever made, and I'm already dreading how many hours it's going to take me to edit. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. I can't promise these types of projects too often. This one probably took me over 60 hours to do, but I will try my best. If you have any suggestions for the next guild you'd like to see me play through, please let me know in the comments down below. Ideally, the guild exists in 3+ games or has a somewhat close comparable. Thank you so much for sticking around all the way until this point. I don't really have anything else to add, so make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one.